I'm Jordan.
I'm Sheridan.
And I'm Kaylee.
And this is the Kaylie Smith episode.
Yes, we are so excited to speak with Kaylee today. Kaylee is a New York Times and USA Today Journal best-selling author. She's recently released Enchantra, which you can see in the background. We're absolutely obsessed, and we cannot wait to speak with her about it today.
Yes, thanks for joining us.
Oh my gosh, of course. I'm so excited to be here. Especially because I think the last time I did a podcast, no one had read Enchantra yet. So this is very exciting. Yes.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to be here first.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to kick this off with, it was our first takeaway from Phantasma, which is, how does it feel to break the mold and have your first MMC be not the dark-haired male lead? You changed the game.
Yeah.
The blonde guy got the girl.
It's so funny because I think my favorite review is like, not a blonde man. But yeah, I didn't even think about it because I had such a big crush on Danny Phantom when I was 13. And I mean a white-haired man is not the same as a blonde man.
Very true.
Right?
Very true.
So I was like, this will work. This will be fine. But it is so funny how many people tell me I made them like an MMC despite the fact that he's blonde.
It was when we recorded the episode, because we did a review of Phantasma back when we first read it. And I remember I was Sheridan, I think it was episode 30 or something. We had recorded quite a few book reviews. And I was like, this is the first time we have ever had a non-dark haired male lead get the girl.
Yeah. Yes, oh my gosh. Yes. That's so funny. Blackwell is honored. What a diva.
What a diva. I love that. That is right. Speaking of the characters of the book, something that we absolutely love that you've done in Phantasma and Enchantra is the relationship dynamic between Ophelia and Genevieve is so relatable. That sister dynamic is very relatable. We wanted to ask you, how did you go about crafting and writing their relationship and how it showcases family expectations, the roles we play? We absolutely loved the relationship between the sisters.
Yeah. I grew up as an only child for the first 17 years of my life. My little sister is 17 years younger than me. And so the eldest daughter expectations fell on me. We never even lived in the same household. I was going off to college when she was born.
Wow.
So I feel it's the eldest daughter trauma or the only daughter trauma of being I was the first one to graduate from college and to go to college or anything like that. And just the idea that I had to do everything perfectly to kind of keep in line with my family's expectations. And then she came along and it's so interesting. I adore my little sister. She's adorable. We have so much fun together now, but for sure it's this conflicting thing of she doesn't have that pressure and it's hard to relate on that level, especially with our age gap, but also would do anything for her. And I really just kind of want to encapsulate that experience in Ophelia and Genevieve's relationship, because it's sort of they don't totally understand each other, right? And yet they do anything for each other, and I think that's just kind of comes with sisterhood. It's inherent. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun getting to put that part of my relationship in the book, for sure.
Oh, I love that. I when I read Phantasma, I was oh, Ophelia is the ultimate archetype for eldest sister. You know what I mean? Love seeing the dynamic. And I love that you said you really enjoyed writing that between them too. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's kind of I never wanted to be two sisters pitted against each other or one of them was wrong for how they felt. I know people have their feelings about Genevieve and Phantasma, but she genuinely was trying to help. And even though she doesn't want anything to do with the family magic in Phantasma, I feel that's fine. And just as I think it's fine that Ophelia does feels obligated. being human is a spectrum of emotions. So yeah, I
It
wanted
is.
at the end, yeah, it's like I just wanted them to feel like they loved each other even when they didn't understand each other.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also funny that you say that because my husband is exactly 17 years younger than his older brother. You never hear that too. Like that is such a specific age gap. So I was like, oh my.
No. Explaining it to people is wild. It's like it's basically it's like you're their like aunt or uncle, like more than anything. So no, it's so funny like having such a big age gap. Oh my goodness.
Did that present like a challenge for writing or Genevieve's point of view? How did you go about getting in the mindset of the younger sister?
Yeah, I mean, Genevieve was like an interesting character to write anyway. Like she did not stick to my outline at all. Like girl was determined to derail everything possible. But I think like getting into her mindset was just honestly cuz like my sister's too young I think to have that sort of conversation, you know, like she's only like 13. So but I think it's more of just like how would I have felt on the opposite end of it? And I'm like I think my sibling having all that attention from my mother or like all that pressure and then not having anything expected of you, my personality type, I feel like that would have been very strange. And I think I would have had a very difficult relationship with it. So I kind of just like took her from that perspective. She's also like a lot more fun and funnier. And like that does encapsulate my personality more than Ophelia. Ophelia and I have a lot in common, but like she does need to let loose a little bit, which is where Blackwell comes in.
So also we wanted to ask what inspired you to write Phantasma?
Yeah. Oh my God. I think Phantasma was just like the perfect storm of everything that I had been wanting to write for so long. Basically, I have an art history background. I have a fine arts degree.
Oh, cool.
And like we studied a lot of literature that was like specifically involved with like aesthetics in my literature classes in college. And Dante's Inferno was a big one. And I was always like just weirdly fascinated by it because it's like it's sick. It's so strange. And so I was like, I don't know. I feel like it would be really fun to put my own spin on that. So it was sort of like that. And then we also learned about an art medium called Phantasmagoria. And I literally have like my old college notebooks where I like wrote down Phantasmagoria would be a really good name for a book. And like, and I was like, I always had wanted to be a writer. Like that was always the end goal. So I was just like, always scribbling down ideas or like for eventual books maybe I'd write. And so when it came time to like brainstorm Phantasma, I was like, I want to do a main character with OCD, which automatically leans more like psychological horror. And I was like, oh, easy. I should make it gothic. I'm from Louisiana. Like I grew up in and around New Orleans. So like all of the pieces just kind of like clicked together and it kind of just happened.
That's cool.
Awesome. It's just such a unique world too. Like just you get thrown into it and you're like, okay, all right, let's go. Like it's very rare that you get thrown into such a unique world and are in it right away where you're just like, okay, totally in, you know?
I appreciate that. I try. I'm like, I want to make sure like we're sucked in because I know like world building is really important to me, but I know like the pacing of world building can be weird for some readers. Like they want to just go. So I'm like, how do we balance this?
Yeah.
The world building is you step into it and you're a part of it. Like the story just kicks off in Phantasma and Enchantra. I think that's something that Jordan and I both really liked. Like when reading them, you feel like your writing is so atmospheric. You feel like you're in the world when you kick off the book. So that's, it's amazing.
Oh my God. Thank you. That's the highest compliment. I love when people are like, you can tell she has like an art background or like, they're like, was she an interior designer? Because I'll just be like describing the wallpaper. But like I feel like that helps ground you. Like you feel like you're like exploring whatever is happening on the page, which is always my goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to ask too. So a long time ago, a friend and I went to New Orleans. So when I was reading Phantasma, I was like, oh, mentally, I was like, okay, I can picture the New Orleans atmosphere. Do you feel like that had like an impact on the idea for Phantasma? I know you mentioned a little bit about like where the inspiration came from, but do you feel like that specific setting had an impact on wanting to write Phantasma and Enchantra?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I know a lot of people, they're like, why didn't we explore more of New Orleans in the book? But, like, it was set in New Orleans because I grew up. So that was natural. And, like, also New Orleans is very atmospheric, gothic. There's, like, an inherent magic to the city. It was just, like, obvious to me that that's where it should be. But, yeah, it's, like, the point in the book wasn't New Orleans, and so like I always have to explain to people like I'm just a local. Like, if I had been born somewhere else, like honestly, that probably would have ended up being the setting. Like it just
cool.
I wanted to write about something that like felt like home, and it just so happens that is like that feels very much like home for me.
Love it. That's so cool.
Okay, so how do you approach outlining all the games for each event or game of Phantasma or Enchantra? It's all the layers that go into it in each kind of event that occurs within the event.
Yeah, I feel like Phantasma was actually easier for me, even though each trial was like very different, because like I had the conceived themes for each one because they were based off the 9 circles of hell. So like I really just took each circle of hell and like broke down the themes and then broke down like the punishments that were in Inferno already. And then I kind of just like, what would be like really weird, sick, twisted game for them to do? Some were easier than others. Like my editor and I would like bounce back and forth. And then like some needed to be super specific, like the true or false level. I think it's deceit. Like I needed that one to work on a few levels. Like I needed Lucy to get cursed. So like her secret, there were like mental domino effects aside from like just the game itself. And then level 8 with Genevieve and her doppelganger was also like a huge plot point for other things in the book. So it's like some of them were like, this is just what they have to be, but others I got to take a lot of creative freedom and just see what I could come up with. And then Enchantra, obviously, they're just playing hide and go seek the entire time, but each round had to be a different version of hide and go seek, and coming up with like 10 different versions of hide and go seek was not easy. I was like, God, at what point are we just like, does this get boring? So like, I really, really tried to make each round feel unique and interesting. So I literally was like calling friends and being like, how did you play this game growing up? And just like all our different versions of it kind of made its way in there.
Oh, that's really cool.
So cool.
Mm-hmm.
That is the fish round. Like
oh
the
my
fish
God,
round in Enchantra, my heart was on the floor. I was like, oh my goodness, no harm better end up coming to Umbra. So
yes.
Oh, Umbra. Oh, my little baby. There's like a version, the first draft of the book, she actually, and my editor was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
He literally was like, Kaylie, I swear, listen, he doesn't put his foot down very often, but he was like, you cannot Umbra. And I was like, okay.
Thank you to your editor, because I would not have rebounded from that. I would have been like, what the hell? No.
Sometimes I just do things to like see if they work or stick, and he'll kind of like reel me back in. The fish thing though was like, sometimes I was rereading that chapter and I'm like, this is so weird. Like, from the dregs of my mind, did I come up with like a game with fish? I have no idea. It's just like, sometimes I'm writing at like 2-3 in the morning, and I swear like the strangest, like most fever dream things come from those sessions. Cause like, but like I wrote it and I liked it. And then my editor was like, this is really unique. Like, I can honestly say I'm never encountered a game with fish in a book. And I'm like, okay.
Well, it works too because it's fantastical, right? So it's like you be as delirious in your idea as you want because we can make it pan out in a fantastical world, you know?
Right.
And it does make it awesome.
Yeah, no rules. Also, like, any excuse to get Rowan's shirt off, and I was like, water. Great excuse.
We appreciate it.
That. You're like, and no shirt.
Okay, so speaking of male main characters and love interests in the book, something that you do really well is near the end of the book, you always have like a twist that comes out of nowhere, and it's so good where you think a betrayal has happened, but then, you know, you get more details on what that looks like. How do you go about crafting that and writing that? Because it always gets you. Like, every time I was like, oh, you know?
Yeah. Like, I genuinely stop and go, and then you keep reading and you're like, okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I always know what I'm writing towards. So, like, the twist, are we doing spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Phantasma. But yeah, so the twist of Blackwell, and Salem, like, that was always the situation. I call it more of a reveal because I do tell you, like, in the prologue that he's the devil, and I like to leave my little breadcrumbs. But I like it when, if you're like completely shocked, that's a really fun time. Or if you saw it coming, the reveal, that moment still feels like, oh my god. Like, I feel like I worked so hard to get to that ending because I saw it in my head. Like, she would have to call him and be like, what's going on the level? And so, like, the reader is like, well, of course, she just called him. So he appears, and then he steps forward and, like, reintroduces himself. And, like, I just saw that moment so vividly. So, like, I spent the whole book moving towards that because I knew, obviously, he didn't have an identity, all of that stuff. So Phantasma just felt like, obviously, those are the sequence of events. Enchantra's, like, twist was interesting because I knew I had to get it to where she lost her memories. But I was like, how? And also, like, how does she get them all out of this curse? Because I didn't want Rowan to be the one who came up with it. I really wanted Genevieve to have agency. Like, she is the reason that they all get saved. And the only way I could think of that was, like, she's gonna have to sacrifice herself and hope for the best. So, like, I knew instantly when it would have to be her that sacrificed herself, I was gonna have to make the setup be the reader thinks Rowan's turned on her. So that was, like, a lot of balance. Like, that had to start in the prologue. Like, her whole, like, I hate you. Like, so I'm like, I really try to make sure we got to a point where it's like, you do, like, the reader is finally like, okay, we trust him, just for that, like switch to happen. We spent so much time on that, though, because I really wanted it to be executed well, and I was, like, so afraid that everyone would, like, know exactly what was gonna happen. So
I did not. You got me.
Me neither. Me neither.
I was literally, like, jaw on the floor, like, sitting there, like, what the hell are you doing to me at this last minute? Like, you've got to be kidding me.
I'm so glad that worked out because I genuinely was so worried. And then I was like, I love the amnesia trope so much. I'm one of the few, I know. But I was like, his letters, like, I knew I wanted him to have to write to her their story because he's not really, like, a talker in person. So I was like, but, like, he's always written letters. Like, we kind of get that little tiny twist throughout as well. So, yeah, anyway. It all came together. I
love that. Oh, yes. It was like a knife to the heart.
The moment he walks out and sees her and she doesn't recognize him was like, that will live with me.
It's so funny because those are, like, my favorite parts too, or, like, the devastation of that, but also her finally calling it her ring is one of my personal favorite details. I love it so much. And I love the fact that she did not go home and put it on. Like,
Yeah.
there were like 2 weeks where she still was like, I don't know why even I took that. That was so strange.
And he's just waiting.
Yeah.
When he's just waiting, I was like, oh no.
My poor emo boy. I know.
No, I love it. Oh, his love declaration as well, top tier.
Yes.
Like when it's like to the point. Oh, amazing.
Yes. Okay. I love how there was like a clear distinction of power and levels of power. I think it's really common in books that, especially when you kind of build off each other, that almost everybody's super powerful at the end, and you're like, oh, everybody's the big bad. What I liked is how there's a clear distinction between like a devil's power and Rowan's power, and like Salem is still up top and everybody's still kind of scared of him.
Yeah.
Do you have a good idea of like from a overall structure of hierarchy of what you keep in mind of like, okay, maybe even characters you haven't introduced where you're like, okay, he's up here though and this guy's here?
No, like when I do like the overall like series, because I really like intentionality, I like breadcrumbs. So basically when we were like conceptualizing the whole series, I planned to do all the books that I could possibly want to tell stories for, like for all the characters. And like if they don't get published, they don't get published. But if they do, the seeds are there from the beginning. I think that's just a lot easier than not planning, and then you get to the end and readers are like, we want more, and then I'm like, oh no, what do I do?
No more.
Like, fully planned. I know the hierarchy for sure, and you can tell in like certain ways. We don't nearly know, like, scratch the surface of the King of Hell. Like he there's a lot going on there, because I know a lot of people are like, why would he give Salem like a loophole? But like the whole shtick of Devils is there's always a loophole. There's always a way to get out. It's because it's like the way, and it's also everything has to be willing bargains as well. It's a big thing. So he's at the top, and then I love that little moment where Knox almost passes out when Genevieve tells him that like Salem is basically my brother-in-law. He's like, so I know who like all the big bads are for all future things, and I know where they rank, and now even like Rowan's mortal now technically.
Yeah.
So it's like his brothers officially outrank him, which is really fun to play with, because they're gonna give him a lot of shit for that. So
ooh, okay. We're excited.
Yeah.
I also loved that, and I wanted to call that out, how much I loved the display of two different outcomes, because again, I feel like when you read supernatural or fantastical things, the option is almost always picking immortality. And Genevieve made it so clear throughout the entire book that she like did not want immortality, that she loved being immortal, that it was so important to her, and that she valued it. And to see two different outcomes essentially between Phantasma and Enchantra, I thought was so awesome, because it wasn't like we're all going to be old forever together. It was like, well, no, some people are going to pick different things, and he picks to be mortal for her.
Right.
And I just thought that was such a cool, different view of it, where it's not, oh no, there's only one outcome.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was really important for me too, because I do see these first two books specifically as like two sides of the same coin, but they're like opposites. So they truly are sister novels. So it's like Ophelia, who has prepared her whole life to have magic in it, like naturally, to me, she doesn't question the fact that she ends up immortal. I'm sure there's like discussions in the background we haven't seen yet with her and Blackwell about it, but in that moment, it just made inherent sense, like that was the situation. And also, like, even that isn't necessarily forever. Like, you never know what can happen. That's not a hint at anything. That's just like a world. Yeah, that's just like a world building fact, though, right? Like, things can be undone, things can be redone, but it's true. Like, Genevieve likes being mortal. She resisted magic her whole life. She likes that like the passion of something being finite. You have to savor it a lot more. And I think a lot of times immortality in my head probably like makes people callous. Like they just don't care about life and death in the same way a mortal does. So yeah, it totally made sense to me that Rowan would have to give that up if he decided she is what he wanted. So yeah. Also, he's over it. He's
he's been through it. He's had enough.
he's played the game.
Truly enough. Like I'm done. Yeah.
We loved how you did that in the book. So speaking of Blackwell and Ophelia, and then also Genevieve and Rowan, something that we loved is like the banter between the different couples, kind of like that enemies to lovers trope in vibe, marriage of convenience in Enchantra. Also a spoiler there a little bit. But what did you like best about writing those dynamics between the couples?
Oh my god, yeah. Well, it's like, it's so funny. The enemies to lovers of it all, I never call my stuff enemies to lovers. When I do enemies to lovers, you will know. I promise. But yeah, like Blackwell, I'm like, obviously that is a really big thing, like that trope. And for Blackwell and Ophelia specifically, I was like, I really want to start them off on a foot where you don't know why as a reader until the end, but like they have a connection and there's a reason, because I think I have an interest always of like subverting expectations. I think from a craft perspective, it's a challenge for me. And I know people don't like Instalust or Instalove, so I was like, let me build something in to where it's like, it actually plot-wise makes sense. Like, Blackwell was pretty much obsessed with her from the second they met. And the reason you find out is because this is not like the first time they're meeting. I mean, to their knowledge it is, but reincarnation is like one of my favorite tropes ever. And I also think people think that they don't like Instalove or Instalust, but like possibly forget their real life experiences too, because Seven says this thing in Enchantra that I love, where it's like, we hate people on sight. Like, why should love be different? And so I was just really interested in being like, let me try this thing and like see if I can convince people that with the right characters and the right situations, it's really fun. And then the marriage of convenience aspect, though, like on the other hand, I was like, yes, let's hate to love. I loved that they absolutely loathed each other like the second they laid eyes on and the marriage, like a forced marriage, is always maybe this is problematic. I always think that's
I feel like as a reader in tropes too, like being problematic, I feel like is fine. Like we talk about this all the time, how like I can be hypocritical when I read. I can be problematic because like this is just what I enjoy, so that's fine.
It's like the misogyny entering my body just for the like 500 pages of this story. Yeah. But also, to be fair, Genevieve doesn't take any of it lying down, and I think that is also very important. Like, I really wanted her to have agency, even when she didn't really. Like, she could have just. He was like, absolutely not. Like, she offered to marry any of his brothers, and so like, yeah. I love the tropes. I love forced proximity, obviously. Love the idea of locking two people in a room and be like, either learn to grow together or kill each other. Like, figure it out.
We loved it. We loved all those tropes. Like we ate it up for sure.
And I feel Instalove, you're so right. It's like, it's one of those things that I feel if it's like there's no tension, it's one of those things that people then immediately think of that. Because there's plenty of books that I've read like that where it's like, there's no tension. Like the book is just like, y'all need to chat and that's it. Like, whereas like the way you displayed the tension and created that's the ride of it. Like, be dedicated. I'm into that. Be dedicated from day one. Yes. It's just, it's all about that tension and that ride. And you definitely get it and get all that like angst with it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's all about the framing. It's like tension, angst, any sort of like, just like interest at all beyond just you're hot, I think insta love can work in those aspects. But like, I also think it's like I met my husband, I was 18, and I like walked into a bar and I saw him and I literally went up to him like 2 seconds later and was like, we're gonna date. And he looked at me and he goes, okay. And we've been together ever since. Like,
oh my
That's
gosh.
so cute.
I love this.
Cute.
yeah,
Yes.
it's like sometimes I swear it's like a chemical reaction sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, and so but like I also know that when it's done wrong, it can be really frustrating. Like, so yeah, I'm always just like, what can I subvert? What can I do to make people be like, this is the trope exception? Or like, I love pushing myself, and my craft. And I know like it's not always successful, but like the more you do it, the more I feel like you get better at it with like each book. So that keeps writing fun for me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, no, that's so interesting. And we really enjoyed it as readers. So
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Okay, so how did you determine which animal the siblings would have as their familiars? And like, I guess, did it tie to their like power, or I guess how did you decide how to pick which animal?
Oh my god, this is my favorite question. Okay. So a lot of Enchantra, like the relationship is based off of the fable The Fox and the Hare. So like yeah, for obvious reasons, like the hunt, Genevieve is this symbol of prey, at least to the devils. She proves that she's not. And so it was like Hare is like the prey animal, and so it was like her counterpart should be a fox. So that was just so obvious to me. Also,
cool.
Foxes being sly, I needed Rowan to have even subconsciously a level of distrust in the reader's mind. So again, when he like flips on her, it's like, well, we've been saying he's a fox this whole time. They're tricky. So yeah, that animal, I just feel like all encompassed him. That was so easy. But then when I started breaking down the other characters and what I thought their games and books would be, I really wanted each one to have something that made sense for their particular story arcs and just as people. So like Grave, for example, I know everyone's favorite familiar. Grave has this adorable little mink named Lilith, and everyone's like, why, like this big guy, he's so brutal, he's like by and far the meanest of all the siblings, has this like cute little weasel. But it's because like Grave is so big, you take notice of him immediately. He can get anywhere with brute strength. What he needs is a little critter that can get in and out undetected, like something that can sneak around and do the part of his job that he can't. It just made sense to me. Like he'd have his little slinky weasel friend, and she's so cute and I love her.
So
and then
cute.
yeah, and then Wells is an owl, and that's like wisdom and patience, and I just thought that reflected him so well, because if anything, I know he first, so we don't get to spend a lot of time with him, but his whole thing is just, it's the patience of letting his sister, you know, his twin, and all of those things. And then Ellen's is a snow leopard, and I just thought that made sense, because it's like snow leopards are very actually soft and shy for the big cats, but they're still very respected. They're a big cat, like that's a predator. And I feel like that kind of goes along with Ellen's personality so well. Like she's soft, but like also doesn't want to be perceived that way, like necessarily, and she has like this healing energy, whereas her brothers again use brute force. So I can imagine maybe that's like an insecurity, so that familiar just made sense. And then Sevens is a wolf, which are insanely loyal, and we'll see why.
Yes. Seven, I'm so interested in Seven. I feel like Seven definitely got like the biggest spotlight of like, at least I feel like in books there's always like a character who drops the wisdom on you, and it was always Seven who had like the little nugget that you were like, that's interesting, Seven.
Yes.
His wisdom is in such a different way too, because it's so, he wants to seem nonchalant and funny and blasé and charming, but then he says these really deep things, and Genevieve is just like, what is in your brain? Like, what is happening here?
Oh, so 7, I would venture to say, is our favorite silver sibling. Do you have a favorite silver sibling, if you can play favorites?
Oh, 7 is by and far. I don't think I make that like a secret though. I also really love Ellen, to be fair.
Yes.
And this obviously I feel like doesn't count Rowan because
Right.
I adore Rowan. It's the reason he got picked first. But yeah, no, I love 7. I think, and obviously I know everything about him, but like he is just such a fun character.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, I like to hear this.
He's one of the ones I can't wait to hear more about. So,
yes.
While we're talking about 7, does he get a book where we're going to hear more about the ex he's pining for?
We hope so.
I can't say anything about anything. I will say that was absolutely an astute observation.
I'll take it. What about, I guess, high level, can we ask, is he the next book, or are we not allowed to know who's next?
I can't say anything about who's next.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
I know I think it's like a good thing though, because I think my team really wants to have some fun.
Yeah.
So I know everyone's like, please, and I'm like, I promise it'll be more fun if we all just linger, we wait.
Yeah. It's also nice too, because like whenever you read like interconnecteds like that and you get to know a character, you're always like, especially me, I'm always like, what are you doing over here?
Yes.
Talk to me about that, because I'm interested.
There's like 3 or 4 characters that I get regular DMs about now that Enchantra's out, fully all the time, and it's so fun because I know what's coming and in what order, and I think it's going to be really fun to unravel that thread with readers, because some people are like, they've guessed things very spot on, but not in the correct order, or I have people who are fully off the mark. But I think it's like so fun. It's fun for me to see, but yeah, everything's planned and set in stone, and all will just have to be revealed.
Oh my gosh, we are so excited. We are very invested. I know most of this is confidential, can't share. Can you share how many books you expect to have, or is that also confidential?
So there's a minimum of 4, right? So we have at least minimum 2 more. The rest of that is genuinely, it's just like a publishing situation. Like the way Trad Pub works is like you sell a certain amount of books in a deal, and then like if readers like them and they do well, they might offer to option more, or you can pitch stuff. It's just like things happen differently every time, so it's just like it's too early to say. But there's at least 2 more. So the threads, like I will not ever leave a thread hanging. Like everything, like no matter if it's only 4 or if they allow me to expand it, like all threads will be tied up for sure.
Ooh, yes, we're so excited. Cannot wait.
Okay, so when you're not writing, what are you reading? Like, what are your favorite tropes? What is your go-to?
Okay, I don't get to read as much as I used to, which I'm sad because I am always writing. But my favorite thing has always been, I feel like, paranormal fantasy, or high fantasy. So I'm actually reading right now. I'm reading The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, and it's wonderful. I'm doing a tour stop for her Night and the Moth tour, and I am so excited. I love anything with like a gothic vibe, so that one's really fun. I need to read the rest of the Belladonna series. I need to read Wisteria.
Yes.
I'm good friends with Adeline. I love her books so much, and I've just been waiting until Holly comes out so I can just like do Wisteria Holly, just like all at once. But yeah, anything like with those vibes, like that fantasy gothic romance sort of situation, and then in the summer for like 1 month I'll read contemporary books. Is the like the only time. Yeah. I don't know. It's just like something, because like I'm such a fantasy girl. It's hard for me to get into contemporary. But like there's something about the summer and like going to a beach that I'm like, okay, I can read a contemporary romance. It's time.
Like, this is the time. This is
Yeah.
the time for this. I know earlier you mentioned you knew you always wanted to be an author. What do you think inspired you? Like from like early on, you were like, I know I want to be a writer.
Yeah, I mean, so when I was younger, all the books I read, my grandfather read to me. So like everything I read was his choice. Yeah, so that was, I loved him. He's the reason I love reading so much. And then I kind of like when it's a weird story, but basically there was like a period of time where obviously I grew up and he stopped reading to me for a while, and so like, I just didn't know what to pick, so I wasn't reading. And then in 8th grade, that's when I read Twilight, and then I read Cassandra Clare's books. I found those, and I kind of just YA at that time, Hunger Games, like things started snowballing. And so I would go online, like on Tumblr, and I didn't know anyone in my life, like none of my friends read like I did, and I was reading voraciously, like to the point where my grandmother gave me like an allowance for my Kindle every month.
Aww.
And I would blow through it in a week, like, and I was using the library, but like it just wasn't enough. Like I was just reading so many books, and so I go online and I try to find people who also read the books and like talk with them, and I really found a love for like fandom spaces and like friendships with other people who also read. Like I love readers. I don't mean this disparaging to like anyone who doesn't read. I don't want to seem like like an elitist or anything, but it's just like someone who reads and like deeply cares about things that are like fictional and like finding theories and threads and stuff. There's just like a brain wavelength I have always felt like, so like that is just such a euphoric place to be. And so I just was like, I want to do this for a living and create something that maybe other people will go online to try to discuss. Like that was just always the goal. So I was about 13, 14 when I had this epiphany. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to create things for readers. I think all of us who like to escape to our little fantasy worlds are just, I'm like, I love our brainwave. So yeah. And I like went to college, and getting an English degree in Louisiana wasn't a great move. Neither was getting an art degree, but that's a different conversation. And so yeah, I was just like, I'll do it eventually. Like I'll get a job. I worked for a marketing company in graphic design for a while, and then COVID happened. And my husband was like, you need to just finally get back to like finishing your book. And I was like, you're right. Like, you have time. And that's what happened. Like, I just did. I was like, finally. Like, it feels like I've just been like trying to come home for so long, and I just never had the time. And then I did, and now I'm here, and I will never go back. So.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. What an amazing journey, you know? Yeah. Like how things all fall together in the past. Like that's so cool.
Well, and to think that 13, 14-year-old you would be like, you're awesome.
Yeah.
Like that's such a cool thought.
She is dying. I mean, like I'm having like dinner at cons with the authors who inspired me to be an author, and just sitting there like 16-year-old me would be passed out. Like, what? That's wild. Yeah. Things truly come full circle. It's really cool.
That's awesome. Okay. So do you then have any authors who are like your auto buys? Like, does not matter what the blurb is, like you're just going to buy the book?
Oh yeah. Carrie Maniscalco, Margaret Rogerson. Ooh. I feel like I'm like thinking, I feel like anything Sarah Destin used to write, I would just immediately get. I haven't read one of her books in so long, but like I love Hannah Grace. So like every time she comes up with a new one, I'm like, all right, going to the bookstore. I love Saba Tahir. Has never missed for me. They're so good. And then yeah, I feel like those are Laini Taylor. I don't know if y'all have read Daughter of Smoke and Bone.
Yes.
Oh My God, an actual genuine masterpiece. That's a masterclass of fantasy to me. So like the next Lainey, when you want to come back and write another book, I can't wait.
I was gonna say, have they written anything?
I think so.
Recently,
Like
or
they did the trilogy and then they did the duology, Strange the Dreamer, and I don't think there's been anything else after that. My husband is actually also a giant fan of Laini Taylor's books, and so he is like
awesome.
chomping at the bit for something. He has these are my bookshelves, but he has his own bookshelf right here. He's a huge reader, so we're always fighting over like whose copy gets signed to who, and yeah.
Oh,
that's
so cool.
cute. I love that.
So on your journey, like the path of like author and the books that you've released, what would you say is the best advice you've received as an author?
I mean, I think for me, it always goes back to like just write something that you love first and foremost. I think when you start publishing art for public consumption, things change. You're like, especially when it's a job, like your relationship with your art changes. It doesn't really matter your intention, which is why I say I'm like, here's my intention with like the tropes I write or the books, or like the ending was very intentionally the way it is. But if readers don't have a good reaction or whatever, it's fine, because that art is now for their consumption. It actually does not matter what I intended with it at all. However, criticism is a lot easier to take if you loved the product you put out. And I think in publishing especially, there's a lot of voices and a lot of opinions. But you need to know what is good critique and what is bad critique. And remember, at the end of the day, that is your name on it. And I think, like, I just carry that with everything I do. I knew Enchantra, I was so nervous for it because following up Phantasma, like, I knew Phantasma was going to be a hard bar to reach. I love Phantasma so much. And I knew for a lot of people, there's, like, an inevitability of disappointment. Like, there are plenty of readers out there who are so sad that Enchantra just did not hit for them the way Phantasma did. But it's like, that's so fair. That's a very fair reaction. And that doesn't hurt me as much because I love Enchantra and I know I wrote the book that I intended to write and wanted to write. So, yeah, I think it's like, that's all you can do as a creative, is just make sure you love what you're creating. And that whatever you put out, you're proud to have put it out, even if everyone hates it. Yeah. So
yeah, that's great advice in multiple areas of life. Like, that's great advice.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Okay, so what is the one thing that you hope readers feel or think after finishing Phantasma and Enchantra?
I think my things for each one is just sort of the whole, like, struggling with your mental health or whatever you might be struggling, family trauma. It, like, doesn't make you unworthy of finding love. There's also a lot of different kinds of love. Like, familial love is just as important as romantic love. And I also just want people to have fun. Like, I have deeper themes in my books and I love them. And they're really special to me in those aspects. But also, if you just read my books because you're like, you want to have a sexy, spooky time, I love that too.
Yes. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
There's so much
that should be a shirt, a sexy, spooky time.
We love that there's so much positivity in your books. Like, there's like the way certain things are handled. There's body positivity. There's sex positivity too, which just like love to see that. Okay, so we have another question to ask if you can answer it. This is something else that we thought maybe we picked up on in Enchantra.
Okay.
Was there a romantic dalliance or relationship between Tessie Grimm and Barrington Silver, or were they just friends who helped one another?
That's the big question, isn't it?
We were hoping we could ask that one.
It's really funny. Everyone, it's the strangest thing, are begging for a Tessie Barrington Gabriel prequel. And I'm like, but y'all know how that ends. And it's terrible. Their story is told in tiny little passerby moments, which is fun for me. But yeah, I know that's the big question. I can't answer it.
Okay.
So I was about to say, I feel like we kind of have to take everything Barrington says, like, you know, that's all we have right now. So
Yeah.
I guess it depends if we trust him or not, right?
Good question. Good question.
I like how you phrased that. You're like, it depends. I don't know. Do we trust him? Hard to say. Okay, let's dive into some games, all with your books.
Yes.
And this is Would You Rather. So if you've never played Would You Rather before, you get presented with 2 options and you have to pick one.
Oh, no.
Okay, would you rather enter Enchantra or Phantasma?
Oh, Enchantra.
Oh, why?
For sure. I would not survive Phantasma at all. But, like, if you put me in a house with, like, 7 siblings, I feel like I could charm someone. Also, they'll be fine. They can do it one more time. I think they were being real dramatic about it. Like, you've been dying for centuries. You can do it one more time.
Like, it's just like a little bubbling for a couple hours. You'll be okay.
Yeah. It feels like torture forever. Yeah. But it's fine. Yeah. Enchantra.
That sibling dynamic, though, amazing, because it's so true. Like, obviously it's a fantastical world, like it's fantasy, but if you were put into that, like the siblings being like, oh, well, when was the last time you visited? Like, that's such a sibling response.
Yeah. Or like, last time, you can this time.
Exactly.
And I also do feel like it was awesome to see it from the perspective of like once they, and you're like, because I think at first you're like, grow up, you're gonna do a little, you do it all the time, but then you see it from like that point of view and you're like, okay, maybe it's a little bad.
Thank you for saying this, because that's exactly what I mean about like details that I find are so important. Like, I knew from the beginning we were gonna have to see them, like what it's actually like on the other side of that, and I knew making it 7 would instantly
you were right. And she just like wants to stay with him, and you're like, okay, I might have been a little bit of an asshole about the dying thing.
You got to our hearts that way.
Yeah.
So speaking of the siblings and their wraith powers, would you rather be a void wraith or a blood wraith?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna say void wraith because they can teleport. And I think that would be really convenient. But I will say being a blood wraith is like very sexy. So I would choose void for sure.
I would too. I'd want to teleport.
Yeah, teleporting is just kind of, it's like one of those things that you always think about, like I could just travel.
Yeah, exactly. Anywhere you want, for sure.
Okay, would you rather have shadows like Rowan or be able to disappear like a Grim?
Ooh. I think I'd want to disappear. I'd want to be a specter. I would like my partner to have shadows like Rowan.
Yes.
For the record.
Yes, agree.
That was a good, sexy, spooky time.
But I think like disappearing would be so fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if there's something you don't want to do, just
yeah. Or like I like how she does it to avoid just like getting hurt. Like that's textbook. Like that would be so nice if you could just be like, oh, never mind.
Yeah. She's just like, actually, I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Would you rather have Ophelia's power and responsibility, or would you rather have Genevieve's power and her journey?
Yeah, okay, this is complicated for me personally because I would rather Genevieve and the journey. However, I'm like Ophelia, like no one is going to do it as well as I'm going to do it, so I'm just going to do it. Like, yeah, just let me have the responsibility because I don't actually trust anyone else with it. So unfortunately, I think that's where I would end up. For sure.
You're talking to 2 type A's, so yes.
Yes.
We're like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to think someone else was capable of doing things as well as I am. Unfortunately, I do not think that's the case. So.
Okay. Would you rather eat the black licorice or the red licorice?
Oh, the red. Sorry, Black Girl.
Agreed.
Keep eating the black. That is like a very specific taste. Like you either like black licorice or you don't. Unfortunately,
Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
Which is in part where that scene came from. Because I'm like, imagine, but like I love him. Like, what a good sport. Wow.
Yes. My husband in real life actually genuinely really likes black licorice, and he's like one of the few people in the whole world I've ever met. And I'm like, what is going on? I don't know.
No, mine too. It's like, that's what I mean. It's so specific. Like, I'm not even sure you can acquire that. Like, I've never met anyone who has. So, yeah. Poor Blackwell.
Okay. So if you could pick out of the familiars of the siblings, if you were a wraith, which familiar would you pick to have? Or maybe if there's one that's not mentioned with the siblings, like if you could just pick your own familiar, what would you pick?
I was about to say, I actually answered this question recently for Book of the Month. I was doing their podcast, and the answer is I would pick a pigeon, which no one wants to hear.
I love that.
I love pigeons. It's a whole thing, but I think the more interesting answer is if I picked out of the siblings, I mean, like 1,000% Umbra. Like, I'm so attached to her. I also think she's compact. I could get one of those like pet slings, and she could eat.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
And we would just go everywhere. I feel like it would be Umbra. My very close runner up is Sapphire, who is Ellen's snow leopard. So, because I also think that would be fun. But yeah,
that would be so fun.
I'm not over the pigeon. That would be very dangerous for your familiar. They're very easy to take out pigeons. Okay. A lot of people don't want them around.
I know, it's true, but I'm like, imagine I could like tie little notes to them, and like they could just go off. Yeah, I would enjoy the pigeon. But like I do recognize that is an incredibly useless decision. So yeah.
you almost want your like own Hogwarts pigeon.
Yes.
I'm like, I love a bird. Something with a bird.
That's so funny. I love that. In a way, a pigeon is very practical also.
Yeah.
Like I can see how it's, but in a way it's very practical. Like you said,
observation too. Because you see pigeons everywhere.
Yes. Think of the spying you could do.
They would never know. Like that's just a regular pigeon. They would never know. Yeah. So.
Exactly.
If they could swerve death.
Exactly. Well, they're a magical pigeon.
Yeah. So yes. They have a slight advantage for sure.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, that is everything we have. So do you have any, well, of course you're on TikTok and Instagram. I think it's Kay's Moon. It's
Kale's Moon.
Kale's Moon.
The lore of that username is long and ridiculous. But yes. Kayls Moon. Yes.
Awesome. And you just released Enchantra. It is available and it is amazing. So if you haven't read it, first of all, sorry. It's amazing. You have to check it out. And we are Sippin' on Spice. You find us at TikTok and Instagram and on YouTube. And thank you so much for joining us today. We had an amazing time.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Awesome. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.